Hello, my name is Zachary Strout, and this is Physics 2212, Lab 1 with charged tapes. So, a little lab report overview. First, we're going to go over the introduction, then we're going to go over the assumptions and initial values, then the observations and conclusions, and next the data and calculations, and then the glow script code, and finally the discussion. So first, the purpose of this experiment was to observe how electrons interact between two pieces of charged tape, and then estimate the charge and the number of electrons present on each piece of tape. So the fundamental principles and equations used in this experiment were Coulomb's law, where force is equal to 1 over 4 pi epsilon naught multiplied by Q1 and Q2 divided by R squared, and that's in newtons. And the other principle is Newton's second law, where force is equal to mass times gravity. So the results of this experiment show that the U-tapes have the same charge and repel each other, and they both have equal positive charges, which we discovered by observing that they were both attracted to a negatively charged pen. And the charge calculated on the tape was 1.494 times 10 to the negative 8 coulombs. And the number of excess electrons on the tape was found to be 9.338 times 10 to the 10th electrons. So the assumptions and initial values. Here it was assumed that each U-tape has the same net charge, and that charge is evenly distributed throughout the length and surface of the tape. Each tape was also treated as if the point charge was located at the very center of the tape, and air resistance was ignored. So the charge of an electron is 1.6 times 10 to the negative 19th coulombs, and the value of G gravity is 9.81 meters per second. The length of the tape was measured to be 19.5 centimeters or 0.195 meters, and the average distance between the tapes was 0.032 meters. So the observations and conclusions. It was observed that putting your hand near tape number 1 or tape A showed an attractive force between both objects, and there was also a repulsion between both tapes. And each tape, when held, or when a negatively charged pen was held close to the tape, a force of attraction was observed. So it could be concluded from this information that the U-tapes are positively charged, as opposite forces attract and like forces repel each other. There could also be error due to human error in measuring, as well as interference from other charge sources, such as touching the tapes and whatnot. So the data and calculations, as said before, the charge of an electron is 1.6 times 10 to the negative 19th coulombs. The length of the tape was 19.5 meters. The distance between tapes A and B were 0.032 meters, and the mass of the tape was calculated to be 1.95 times 10 to the negative 4th kilograms, using a density of 1 gram over 1 meter. The gravitational force was calculated to be negative 1.91 times 10 to the negative 3 newtons. The net force was 0, which allowed us to find the electric force of 1.91 times 10 to the negative 3 newtons. Likewise, the charge on each tape was found to be 1.494 times 10 to the negative 8 coulombs, and the number of electrons was found to be 9.338 times 10 to the 10th power, using Q1 and the charge of an electron. So as we can see in the glow script code, the charge on the tape is displayed in the right, as well as the number of electrons, with tape 1 or tape A being the blue sphere, and tape 2 or tape B being the red sphere. And the gravitational force can be seen with the green arrow, and the electric force can be seen by the yellow arrow. And within the discussion, if electrons had a positive charge and protons had a negative charge, what would change about the observations you made and your tapes and other charged objects? The like charges would still repel and the opposite charges would still attract. Likewise, the electric fields between the protons and electrons would swap. Next question, why is it important to handle the charged tapes as little as possible, and what happens when the charged tapes come into contact with your hands or other objects? So the electrons can transfer whenever a charged tape comes into contact with your hands or other objects could be a source for error in this experiment. And since the amount of electrons might increase on the tapes, since they are positively charged, they would be more negative, and that would lead to less repulsion between the two tapes. Thank you.